It's show and tell time here at Inkworks, and I suddenly feel as if I'm back in kindergarten, that safe place where nobody argued over whether red, yellow, and blue were really primary colors. But today's subject isn't pigments, it's watercolor paper. Well, the ones I use for now, at least. All of these papers have two things in common. They're all labeled watercolor, and they're all cold press. Cold press means it has a textured surface somewhere between the smooth press and the more rugged rough. And that's just my preference. Now, there's also something called knot, which I haven't encountered, and I think that's because it's a British thing, but I understand it's just another term for, is it hot press or cold press? I can never remember, which is why I stay away from anything with that label, because it might not be what I think it is. This is a 9 by 12 pad of 140-pound Canson XL. There's more to it, but the weight basically refers to how thick it is. The thicker it is, the better it will hold up under watercolor, and the less warping and buckling you'll experience. I understand there are 300-pound papers out there, and I'd love to try them someday. By the way, 9 by 12 is a comfortable size for many of my projects, but it's nice to have options. So I was delighted when my good friend gave me this same paper in the 11 by 15 size. Although it's not cotton, I like to use it for practicing and swatching. I've also made holiday cards with it. Plus, it's relatively easy to find since both Walmart and Michael's carry it. Arches. We'll get to that later. Let's do Strathmore next. We'll begin with their 200 series. This is the only 90-pound watercolor paper I have, and this might sound harsh, but I find 90-pound paper useless for watercolors. So I'm using it for drawing and inking, but not watercoloring. It simply doesn't hold up to that medium. By the way, my preferred format is pads. Blocks are a neat idea, but I'm not sure the convenience is worth the extra cost, especially since I use dollar store masking tape. Plus, I sometimes like to cut down my sheets. All of those things make the block form seem inconvenient for my purposes. Next is the 400 series. This was probably my biggest disappointment, since I was expecting more from Strathmore's best. Hey, it's their word, not mine. It says it right there on the cover. And since there's a 500 series that's 100% cotton, shouldn't that be their best? Sure, it looks and feels fine. Nice texture, good weight. But in actual painting situations, I was let down. In fact, I prefer their 300 series. So, you again. Not yet. Here we go. Strathmore's 300. Look, I haven't performed rigorous experiments under carefully controlled conditions, but I think this is comparable to the Canson XL. These are just my fallible opinions, and if, later on, I say something contradictory, like, for example, if I start singing the praises of Strathmore 400, well, I'm allowed to change my mind. And yes, you're allowed to mock and deride with statements like, "Inconstancy, thy name is Inkworks." Ugh. Seriously? Back to the bottom with you. Okay, Fabriano. This is their studio paper, which is 25% cotton, and I've gotten to like this. It's what I've been turning to when I want something better than Canson XL or Strathmore 300, but it's not as pricey as 100% cotton paper. It's pretty nice though, and I generally like the 11 by 14 size since I can go big if I'm feeling brave, or I can cut it down for smaller projects. Speaking of 100% cotton paper, arches. There are other brands that make it, but this is the one I've most often seen on best and favorite lists. My experience isn't broad enough to weigh in on comparisons, but it's definitely the best that I've tried so far. Yes, it's expensive. Yes, I want to try other brands that are more economical. And yes, I know it's pronounced Arsh, but I think I do pretty good at pronouncing some other foreign names like Sennelier and Schminke, so I'm giving myself a pass on this one. As for watercolor journals or sketchbooks, I've used the Strathmore Visual Journal, the 140-pound cold press version, which is their 400 series paper apparently. But I had no issues with the quality. I was quite happy with it. This is the 5.5 by 8 size with 22 sheets. It's small but useful for practice, and I like that it's wire bound. The price is right, too. If I recall correctly, I believe these were less than $10. Then I got a Be Creative watercolor journal, and of course I preferred it. It's 100% cotton. It's also 140 pound, but it has 30 sheets that are perforated and give a full 5.5 by 8 area, whereas Strathmore's visual journal dimensions include the holes, so they only give you a 5 by 8 area really. The vellum sheets at the front and back of this Bee journal are a nice touch too. I still have one sheet left. I've been holding off because I haven't been able to get another one yet. But I should just tear it out and do something with it, yeah. Thing is, these have been difficult to find even before COVID-19, and unfortunately, I don't have any information as to why that is. Silly me, I forgot to show examples of some of the papers I use, so I'll tack that on here. I hope this video was helpful to you, or at least served as an art stuff fix. Because when you can't get to the store, well, online browsing is the next best thing. But you can only fill up and empty out a virtual cart so many times before it starts to get depressing. Which is why I rely on good old YouTube for my daily dosage. I'm happy to share this show and tell session. Unfortunately, there's no way to show in the comments, but you can certainly tell me your paper opinions, or how wrong mine are. Until next time, stay artsy, my friends.